Hello and welcome to Chatta Plays. Welcome to Rimworld episode 2. So today we're starting off exactly where we left off. I recorded these pretty much back to back. So basically in this episode most of what I'm doing is expanding our base because I want to get together a couple of things for our colonists, finish getting our storage sorted out, getting our growth sorted out, trying to set up basic defenses on what we're gonna do, and that's most of what this episode's gonna be about. Tearing down that old building to start with, to get some of the slate that I might use later on that slate building there. Eventually we will probably end up converting to all stone. So as you can see here, I'm laying out some 4x4 rooms. That is the base minimum size that a colonist needs in their bedroom, so that they don't feel too cramped, and even if you overly decorate it, it will be fine because they'll have enough room for it. So I'm setting up our rooms above, and then I'll have a giant production area where I'll do everything. I might end up moving this later after we mine that mountain out. I might end up moving our production area over closer to our resource dump, or moving the resource dump closer to this. This little area right here is going to be like the common room. Our kitchen's going to be there, our dining table, everything like that. Again, I might move a cooler down to this end of the building instead of being up there, and that would give us more storage space and production room up there. So just kind of planning this out. I had originally thought about making some extra bedrooms, but I was like, nah, 8's good to start with. So 3 are going to be for our villagers to start with, and the rest I usually just convert to medical beds. You can convert them to prisoner beds if you have a raid and you don't actually kill someone and you want to convert them to their side depending on their traits. So just kind of basic setup, keeping all the doors on the inside. I decide eventually though to take off that door on the end because kind of want to just block this entire area off so no one comes down from underneath this. I expand that a little bit to make it a bit more even there. And if y'all haven't noticed, the channel has gone under some updates to our graphics and art, thanks to my lovely partner in crime who designed all that for me. So I end up removing that door, adding that wall back in. This is where I really don't like this game, is that we start off with 3 guys that work extremely slow, and there's just so much to do. It's really hard to keep up with. At this point we still have food in the episode though, which is good. I end up actually starting to run out of food, and there's a mad animal here. So mad animals, what they do is basically the animal goes crazy. It doesn't matter if it's a predator or a prey type animal. They start attacking your villagers. So luckily I have a soldier right there with a hunting rifle, and they kill it in the first shot, which is pretty unprecedented. I've almost never had that happen before, but I guess it is just a little swirl. Finally got our cooler set up. I'm going to start moving our storage over. That's mainly going to be our food storage. I don't think I set it up in this episode. I was just setting where I wanted the temperature settings. Now batteries are very important in this game because as you probably saw in the last episode / going into this episode, my generator runs out of fuel a lot. And that's just because I don't have enough workers to do everything I need to do. We do have a large growing field, which is keeping them pretty occupied, and then tearing down all of the trees that are in the area around me makes for some challenges. just checking out what everyone's doing, trying to get them to prioritize the construction a little bit, but it does not seem to be working in my favor, and then they finally start going. I eventually decide to take a couple of them off of construction because they are entirely too clumsy and wasted half of my resources doing that. Trying to decide where I want to put animal beds and floors and stuff later on. I think I'm going to end up moving the animals into the kitchen though, and that just makes it easier on me. Trying to get them to also pick up this medicine and those ration packs that are sitting out there. Equipping pistols and stuff, because at this point I think a raid's coming pretty soon. I just don't know when at this point. So trying to get that all fixed up. And with just the one cooler running on there, we have plenty of power going around. Our battery is filling up extremely fast, since about 80% of its energy is being stored. Trying to keep that room as cold as possible again. That keeps our food from spoiling just outright. Makes it a lot easier so we don't have to keep gathering and gathering and gathering and our food just completely spoiling on us. I go ahead and add an electric kitchen right there. That way we can get some food being made, because I'm starting to notice that we have no food at all. I'm trying to get them to get those ration packs, but they're not picking anything up right now. They're too busy with construction, gathering resources. They don't want to pick anything up. I really need more people at this point. As you may have noticed, I have sped up this video again for this playthrough. Probably after this one or the next episode, I'll be going to live voiceovers of the playthroughs. I'm just doing basic setup stuff here, and it's kind of exciting, but I usually don't like the beginning of games. I like fast playing them. So we got a mission here. Some guy was retreating and comes to us, and I decide that we need the extra help at this point, so I decide to recruit him. He is a night owl, so I am keeping that in mind. He's going to be working at night when everybody else is asleep. The night owls take a mood penalty hit when they're actually awake during the day, which is not good most of the time, especially this early on when we have like no food. It's going to be more of a hindrance than anything. So yeah, getting his sleep work schedule all set up, trying to decide when would be best to put him to sleep. It says 11 on there when he's supposed to sleep, but most of the time he's not going to sleep, therefore taking the mood hit, and nothing works out very well. Just counting how many work hours he's going to have. Now later on in this series, I'm actually going to assign them joy at the end of the day, because I started noticing a little bit later that they were taking massive mood debuffs due to not having joy or being completely joy deprived, and it got pretty bad at some points, honestly. Usually when they break, soft breaks will make them wander around in a daze, and if you're in the middle of a raid and you need that extra person to be shooting, it doesn't work out so well, especially with only 4 villagers and one of them being non-violent. Does not help me at all. So trying to keep the breaks low. Hard breaks, they could possibly go berserk, which is never good. That means they start shooting at everybody else, or they start fighting with people. It's just not the funnest thing in the world. And closely following this guy, there should be a raid here in a little bit. Again, just checking on my colonists, seeing why the mood is extremely low. Noticing that we have a bunch of dirt around, I'm trying to get these people to prioritize to clean it, but again, they just got so much going on right now that they're not really paying attention to that. They're just bypassing it. It ends up making quite a bit of a mess though. We have lots of dirt from the construction and everything else. So I need to get that taken care of as soon as possible. Also, them sleeping and this guy working at night now poses the next problem of their having interrupted sleep. If they were all sleeping, it would be fine, but the one guy moving in and out, who actually seems to be actually hauling stuff for me for once, instead of just doing everything except for what I want them to do. But him walking in and out's not good. Thankfully, we got 4 bedrooms ready. Minus the roofs, I think, at this point. So trying to get them to finish up construction really quick, and once they do that, we can actually get into making their beds, which we do now. So just getting the beds placed down, and later on in the series I'm gonna be picking back up these beds until we get good quality beds, because the awful poor and shoddy ones don't give them restful enough sleep, and they can actually sleep faster, get back to work faster with less sleep, which is good. That means you get more production into the day. Just getting the first beds built here. Now, they don't actually claim these beds until the night time, so they'll remain unowned as long as it doesn't become night before they get around to it. But it looks like we're going to get all of them built before nighttime, so they'll reprioritize. I think, if I remember correctly, they prioritize to the top 4 beds there. That way we can set all the bottom 4 beds as medical bays. Taking a short break to take a drink. Looks like we have a raid coming in, so I pause, take a look at what it is. Looks to just be 2 melee fighters, so I'm not too worried about it. We can just kind of gun them down. I'm trying to figure out at this point which direction they're going to come from, because there's one of 3 options they could do. They could walk around the south side of the building and completely bypass the north side. I think I try to meet this group head on just because they're melee fighters. They could come around like our guys just did there, or they could bust through the wall, which is more so apparent later in the game, not so much up front. But I start moving these guys up so they take shots at him. I position our melee fighter so that they can block, and I don't quite pull them away fast enough. Most of the time I will be doing that though. I notice this guy doesn't have the best traits, so I decided to not keep him. I'm gonna melee attack him, just go ahead and outright kill him. Take his weapon, you know, all that good stuff. Go ahead and prioritize all that. Now, when you get better clothes and stuff, your citizen's mood does go up a lot. So later in the game we'll get more crafting and stuff into that, but for now killing people seems to be the best way to get new stuff. Just checking on our farms and everything really quick. Don't exactly remember what I was doing here. I think I was waiting for everyone to get back, kind of go to sleep, then making sure that these people get healed, and then trying to prioritize them to build roofs over their heads so that they're not considered sleeping outside, which is kind of a big hassle. They do take a pretty significant mood boost from doing that, so just getting the roofs on really quick so that they are not sleeping in the dark, and then we get them to bed. Oh man, gotta drink a lot of water while talking. So I get Helen getting healed here, making sure that they're not using medicine, and then remembering that our new guy is probably using medicine. Then I also realize that we don't have graves, and every single time someone walks into that building, they'll take a mood penalty for killing someone or being seen there. Noticing that guy does not do construction, so I set him to construction so he can go build a grave really quick. It seems the settlers aren't actually picking up any of that food, they're just letting it sit there and then going down and eating it instead of the simple meals that I've made them. Says something about the ladies cooking. Lots of food poisoning must be going around right now if they're not eating the simple meals. So waiting on him to finish up this grave really quick, and then I'm going to prioritize him to bury that body, which he's already ahead of me on. Finally got our 3 peeps in bed. It looks like one doesn't have a roof on her though, which is fairly annoying. So I just get her up really quick, have her build a roof, and then she goes back to sleep. Now, later on when we get carpet and stuff, I will be making this look a lot prettier and probably reorganizing the buildings completely, just because I want to give more room to our settlers. That is, unless we get to the point where I get like 15 or so settlers and there's just not any room for it. But with how open this map is, I don't really foresee that being a problem. We'll be able to put in automated turrets and stuff eventually, so I won't have to use half of the colonists on defense now. A little later on, you keep seeing it kind of in the corner of the screen there, that ancient evil wall. We will be taking that on at some point just because I want to get it out of there. That's a huge building space and there's a lot of materials in there, especially from the mechanoids. You'd get a lot of components and plastisteel. I decide for some reason, instead of doing this in small chunks as per usual, I do the whole thing and use all of our wood, which in turn shuts off our power, and then I have to tell people to go get trees, and I don't know why I do this every time. I should do this in small portions, like one room at a time. This would probably go a lot better. Noticing that some people have trees in the room even though there's a roof on their head, not really making much sense to me, but I don't know. Logic. Whatever. This game doesn't make sense sometimes. Anyways, back to it. They're just going to continue building the floor, checking on our farms and our power situation a little bit, noticing that we are now completely out of food, and then finding some food packs. Not that those food packs are really going to help much. We need some solid food production from the rice, hopefully. That'll come up pretty soon, so that we can get our fridge full, because we're now out of food. And when you start running out of food, a lot of issues with moods start popping up. They start starving, and that's a negative 20 mood boost, which basically floors all the positive stuff you have just done. Changing these over to medical beds so that our colonists can get healed when they're injured. Noticing that one of our guys, I think, was still a little hurt or something, so I tried testing it. Yeah, so we're completely out of food. Already got 2 minor break risks coming up. On top of, it is extremely hot in our buildings at the moment for some reason. I think it's due to the generator and them walking in and out of that area. I decide to set up some extra growing zones. Don't remember exactly what I was going to add to them. So splitting these up. Potatoes, and I wanted to do heal roots so we could get some herbal medicine to heal our guys. Doesn't look like that's going to happen until my grower levels up a little bit though. Something going on. Got an eclipse. Now this is what I was talking about with power. This is why I usually don't go with solar generation, because I had this problem in my first playthrough of this game. Solar generation is great, it's clean, you don't have to bother with the wood, but if there's an eclipse and you don't have enough battery power stored, especially when you get into larger networks, you're really screwed. Mainly because you can't produce enough power at all, and your batteries run dry like that. They take forever to charge, but they run dry entirely too fast. Noticing at this point that I put way too much floor down. Cargo pods drop something. Smoke leaves, one of the new drugs in the game, I decide to not let them pick that up because I don't want to deal with drugs at this point and everything else. So I try to get them to start harvesting some of this rice, seeing what it takes to grow some of the new drugs now that I looked at it. Overall, just waiting on our citizens to finish construction, noticing that a bunch of people are failing right there in construction, and it's kind of starting to bother me. Noticing again that we are completely out of food, and we're having a lot of mood loss at this point. We got tattered apparel, low food, a minor break risk going on, there's an eclipse going on. It's starting to get into summer, which gets extremely hot in the game in the rainforest. You get heat waves, and even the ACs can't cool you down enough in the heat waves. That's why I usually put 2 on my actual chiller, one coming from an enclosed room that is already being cooled down, and then another one coming from either another room or the outside, so that one can be cooled down as well. And then just having the double coolers doubles the efficiency. It honestly doesn't take that much power. Noticing that starvation is occurring, have another minor break risk. They're completely out of food and joy, which is not helping the character, who is, I think, no, it wasn't that one. There's one of my characters that does get depressed, and that is a significant mood loss for them, especially when we start losing food. Kind of a pain in the butt. Making sure that gets built, these trees get harvested, so that they can play horseshoes, so they can get some joy into their day, basically. Finishing up the building, just got a couple more floors to go. Noticing that some alpha beavers spawned in. I'm not really too worried about them right now. We got plenty of trees around us, and I can always grow more trees is the other thing. But alpha beavers can be kind of a pain in the butt later game. Starting to get major break risks now, so kind of getting worried about my colonists. Noticing joy deprived, hungry, very tired, and everything else. Finishing up floors and everything. I've also noticed in this episode I keep getting a lot of pop-ups for animals that are taming themselves, so that's surprising for this series. I'm probably going to end up killing most of them off, just because they eat all the food. So finally getting some rice, and it looks like we're all set. That's going to end the episode today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Hope y'all have a good day. This has been Chatta Plays. Check me out on Twitter at chatta_262. Thank you.